Jacob realized that.
So are the other moms out in the lobby?
Like last week, yes. Usually.
We should give snacks out here.
Does that mean you come in?
Yeah, because
Just start without. They won't be used to you
Just
starting.
start playing the guitar and then come in.
No, David starts asking him everything. It's very particular.
Okay.
it won't last,
So that's the about the track.
and I usually last long. Transport vehicles of Joshua's car. You're supposed to be there by the means of the we call this it. And doing the seven. So this service So what about these? So it shouldn't come interested in his family. Let's finish with his vacation. All right, just wanted to say hi. מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom. For anybody who might be confused, I'm not Rabbi Komarovsky. I have a little more hair than he does. Rabbi Komarovsky's finishing up his vacation. He'll be back soon. I won't tell you when, so you don't start calling his house and camping out in his front yard. And so this evening it is my joy to be able to lead us in prayer. We'll come together and celebrate with Susie's beautiful music. We will say our traditional prayers with fervor, and then we will have a very erudite sermon with wonderful illustrations, great learning. You don't believe that either. So we begin now. Was that the opening song, or are we going to do something else?
That was the opening.
That was
We
it.
can do something else.
No, but that was it.
Yeah, that was
Okay. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is for us to come together as a congregation and community and to celebrate the Sabbath together. We turn now to page 2 of the prayer book, and we consecrate this time, these hours of Sabbath rest and separation, with the Shabbat candle blessings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We turn the page now and consecrate the sweetness of the wine. It is the sweetness of our life and God's fruitfulness in the world. And we sing together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho b'ahava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Oh, you have water.
I didn't do that on purpose.
With sacred light and the sweetness of the wine, we come together for Shabbat, and now it is time for us to welcome the Sabbath bride. Our symbolic song welcomes her presence into the room with Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. You'll find it on pages 20 and 21.
Lecha Dodi
Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Shamur v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'letila. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במשמע תהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Please turn to page 26 where you'll find the Chetzi Kaddish, the Reader's Kaddish, which separates the introduction to our service to the actual formal series of prayers. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. B'yalma divarach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kariv, v'yimaru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam ulo me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yithaleh, v'yithalal, shmei dekudisha, b'richu, le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, v'yimaru, amen. Page 28, our call to worship.
Baruch hu
Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Shall we continue on page 30? Let's read the English at the bottom of the page together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, dutifully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transferring day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. We turn now to page 34 and 35 and join in Shema.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. The Va'ahavta is found on page 36. Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha, b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uv'shachbecha, uv'kumecha, ukshartom leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Please turn now to page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. A song of a land once traversed by war, now quiet and content, we hope. Her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace, Michamocha. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedor ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Nora tehilot, Osefel. Tehilot, Nora Tehilot,
and the river is wide, and the river is deep, and the river is standing between you and me, and
And
the river is fear, and the river is hate, and the river is standing between us and the gates of freedom, freedom. desert sand. Let the children sing for Miriam next year in the promised land. Next year in the promised land. Next year in the promised land. Next year in Jerusalem. And the river divides, and the river forgives, and the river's a wall, and the river's a bridge to freedom, freedom. We shall overcome one day. Freedom, freedom. We shall overcome one day. And we shall overcome one day.
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. We turn the page and join in song. Bnei Yisrael, v'shavru et haShabbat, לעשות את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, וכי לעולם. לעשות את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לעשות את השבת לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. The bookplate in our prayer books begins with a quotation that is also found on page 47 from Abraham Joshua Heschel. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. On page 46, we rise for tefillah.
Adonai
sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Vezrat Saram, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah Lahachayot Hakol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yahalalucha Selah, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We spend a few moments of silent prayer. We continue now on page 253, where we find the Mishaberach prayer, the prayer for healing for those of our friends and families who have asked for our prayers for their complete healing. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel v'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim ha'eleh. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health and to be restored, and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and of spirit. And we say together, Amen. At this time, we specifically mention the names of the following who have either requested our prayers or who have been placed on our list by those who concern and care for them. Bob Barnett, Alan Brockman, Mike Carbone, Sandy Dobbins, Kathy Federico, Jim France, Valerie Frank, Jeremy Giddis, Alex Goldstein, Clara Gilliams, Joel David Harris, Julian Hartman, Elizabeth Hyder, Ethan Kadish, Nathan Kinneck, Tyler Kinneck, Kristen Kinneck, Richard Lair, Martin Levin, Jody Lakshin, Judine Luntz, Marshall Markovitz, Billy Miller, Rick Morsell, Eric Nussbaum, Betul Ozmat, Bonnie Podis, David Poole, Samantha Richford, Ruth Rothman, Carol Rubin, Lorraine Rudy, Mark Sirac, Sharon Smith, David Somerville, Kristen Spedich, Kelly Swab, Barbara Turkeltaub, Christian Turner, Van Walker, David Waltz, Malka Wayne, Florence Weaver, P.J. Wells, and Bruce White. Is there anybody else who would like to add a name to our list of prayers? Thank you. Thank you. Find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yisheberach Imoteinu Kor HaBracha with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And now, as has become our custom, we turn in our prayer books to page 259, and we rise for the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Sheba Shamayim Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Join me in the English, please. O Heavenly One, protect and defend Israel. Bless the state of Israel, which make the dawning of the hope for all who seek peace. Shield and wings of your love. Spread over it the camp of peace. Send your guide them with your good counsel. And establish Amen. And you will find the Hatikva on page 374. Nefesh Not alpine, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, Eretz Zion, Yerushalayim. And you may be seated. That is, unless you have a birthday or an anniversary in this month. So if you have a birthday, please come forward. We have one. If you have an anniversary, Jim? Oh, I'm going to enjoy this one. Come down, Jim. We're going to put the talit and the chuppah up. Have any anniversaries? Yes, we do. We're going to all go over in front here. If there is somebody else or two other people that would come down and help us hold the chuppah, there's one. And, oh, look at that. So I'm really going to enjoy this one. Dear friends, how many of you have birthdays during this month? 2. I'm going to love this. So during this month, we express celebration and thanksgiving for the lives that God has given you, for the lives that you have led, and for your important place in our community and our congregation. Our prayers are for God's presence in your life to give you a sense of wholeness and completeness. And we now give you an opportunity, if you choose, to tell us how old you were on this birthday.
I turned 26 next week.
26. Very nice. An august age, very important, okay? And you, sir, how old are you? 39. He has not learned honesty in his life. How old? How much? 99. Kenna, or 99 years old. And he still drives at night, and his car has no dents or scratches on it. It's absolutely amazing. So you're in good company. Aspire to be him is not a bad idea. And then we have other individuals here who obviously are celebrating anniversaries. We're going to talk a little bit about love and marriage and stuff like that a little bit later. No, yes. Is that a don't ask me how long we've been married? You know how long. So I'm going to give you an opportunity, if you choose, to tell us which anniversary this is. 34. He remembers, she lets him remember. Do you remember, Mr. Mark? Are you going to share it? 52 years, Kenahor. Mazel tov to these two couples who have found mates who have enriched their lives, who have brought into this world new life that are continuing our people and our heritage, who live their lives in such a way that they make the world better. And so we are not only happy for you, but we are grateful for you. And for all of you, we have a special blessing. It's the blessing that comes from the book of Numbers that God taught Moses to teach to Aaron to bless the Jewish people. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you safe. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the warmth of God's guidance shine upon your life and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's presence to you and continue to give you happiness, health, and good times. And we sing to them, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehelanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Mazel tov to all of you for having such wonderful lives, for overcoming the challenges of the world, and for making the contributions that make our world better, our community closer and more meaningful. Thank you. Please take your seats. Those of you holding the chuppah, my pleasure. I was there. All right, as promised, a scintillating, interesting sermon. I hope I can do this. I could talk to you about the portion of the week, which is Naso, in the book of Numbers. It happens to be the portion that marks my 66th anniversary of Bar Mitzvah. You don't have to write a song, and you don't have to give any parties or anything like that. It's just something that happens. But I want you to know that Naso, aside from the fact that at the very end of it is the priestly benediction, which we spoke over these birthdays and brides and grooms, there's not very much interesting in it. It's just a bunch of numbers and that sort of stuff. And when I got into rabbinic school and learned that the priestly benediction, the Yivarechecha, was at the end of it, was the first time that I had an issue with my rabbi, because he never gave me the opportunity. And he taught me the Torah portion in Ashkenazic, Naso es Rosh B'nai Gershom, etc., etc. But what I do want to talk about this evening, and I'll try to keep it somewhat brief. If it's not brief, just get up and walk out. Nobody will call you a name. They might think evil of you, but they won't call you a name. We have just passed Wednesday and Thursday, one of the great orphan holidays for Reform Jews, the holiday of Shavuot. Why do I call it an orphan holiday? Because it usually comes after religious school is over and the summer starts, and, you know, we just don't talk about it because the summer is here. But Shavuot is very, very important in our traditional calendar and in our theology and our faith. Just a very quick reminder. This is the didactic part where you'll learn things or have things refreshed that you might not know. Torah teaches us that there are all kinds of holidays and things to do, but there are 3 holidays which are the mainstay holidays. They are the 3 pilgrimage festivals whereby a person who lived in ancient Israel had to make pilgrimage to Jerusalem in order to offer the festival sacrifices. They are called the 3 regalim, foot festivals, meaning the 3 pilgrimage festivals. And they are Pesach, Passover, the spring festival. They are Shavuot, the festival which is just now past. And they are Sukkot, the festival at the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. These 3 festivals each go through a variety of permutations. They start out as agricultural holidays. Passover, Pesach, is the beginning of the grain harvest cycle in ancient Israel, when they started to harvest the wheat. Then comes Shavuot, which is the barley harvest, and it's the end of that period of days, about 7 weeks, about 50 days, when the various grains come ripe. And those of us who are from the Midwest, I come from Nebraska, will remember when we were young that the combines start down in Texas and start harvesting the wheat, and they just go field after field after field going north up to the Dakotas, because the grain is ripened, becomes ripe in succession over the days between what we would call Pesach and Shavuot. And then comes Shavuot, which is the end of that harvest cycle. And then you have the rest of the summer to take care of your fields and your gardens and so on until it comes time for Sukkot, which ends the harvesting cycle altogether and prepares for the rainy season. So there's that agricultural overlay on that. Secondly, there is a historic overlay on those three festivals. Pesach becomes the time Yitziat Mitzrayim, the time of our going out from Egypt. And we know the story. We told the story at our Passover Seders about the Jewish people preparing after the plagues to leave Egypt and to go out into the wilderness. Shavuot, 50 days after the Exodus from Egypt, is called Ma'amad Sinai, standing at Mount Sinai. And we know that during Shavuot, we read the section of Torah from the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, which contains the Ten Commandments, the experience at Mount Sinai. And finally, Sukkot, at the end of the summer, its particular historic overlay is the idea of being in the promised land, when our people would go and they would live in temporary booths waiting for the harvest to ripen so that they could do as much harvesting as possible without having to go back and forth between their homes. And then there is a spiritual overlay, very simple. Passover is redemption. God takes us from slavery to freedom. Shavuot is revelation. God appears on Mount Sinai and gives us the Torah. And Sukkot is God's providential care. God cares for us and gives us what we need. So that's all very, very nice. And with each festival, there's also a Megillah that is read. The Megillot were the short books of the Bible. We find them in the books of writings. And there are things like Esther and things like Ecclesiastes and so on. For Passover, the Megillah is Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, the beautiful love poetry. For Shavuot, the Megillah is Ruth, or Ruth, the story of Ruth, and we'll get to that in a moment. And for Sukkot, it is Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Very nice. So now, why the story of Ruth during Shavuot? Many of you know that beautiful quotation, which I'm going to read to you from the King James Version translation. And I do so because it is so iconic that almost everybody who has ever heard it has memorized it. In this way. The story of Ruth is simple. Naomi and her husband and her two sons leave Bethlehem, and they go into Moab on the other side of the Dead Sea because there's a famine in Bethlehem, and they hear that there's food in Moab. When they get over to Moab, unfortunately, Ruth's husband dies. It's a very sad thing. So she is a widow there with her two sons, who have found two women. One is Ruth and one is Orpah. And then, sadly, both of Naomi's sons pass away. So you now have the widowed woman without her sons who has two non-Jewish daughters-in-law, two Moabite women who are her daughters-in-law. And so Naomi, because she loves her daughters-in-law, says to them, I understand that there's now food back in Bethlehem. I'm going to go back to where my family and my people are, but I urge you to go and back to your parents' house, back to your mother's house. You'll be loved there. Nobody will point the finger at you because Jews weren't particularly happy with Moabites. Read the rest of the Bible. Not a good thing. Go there and you'll find husbands and it'll be fine. And Orpah says, oh, my mother-in-law, I feel so badly about it, but I'm going home. And she goes back to her mother. But Ruth says, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. God do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. This beautiful, pardon me, this beautiful expression of connection with not only Naomi, but with Naomi's people, with the Jewish people. And the rabbis look at this as an expression of conversion. All of a sudden, Ruth has become part of the Jewish people. She's become part of the Jewish people because of the example of her mother-in-law. Pardon me. The example of her mother-in-law and how much she loves her. And so Ruth goes back with Naomi to Bethlehem. Naomi has a kinsman in Bethlehem. The kinsman is an older gentleman by the name of Boaz. And ultimately Boaz marries marries Ruth, and in an evening of great joy and splendor, they conceive and have a child. And the child turns out to be, in the genealogies, the great grandson of King David. Okay? Not grandson, grandparent of King David. So what does that say? What does the genealogy say? The genealogy says that King David, who will start the dynasty from which the Messiah will come, has in his lineage a non-Jewish grandparent. Very, very important. Well, that's very nice. What a wonderful thing. Why shouldn't we not welcome then the stranger who comes to us and says, whither thou goest, I will go? That's fine. What's not mentioned in any of this is any kind of ritual of identification. So that a person who came to the Jewish people, at least according to what we've read here, becomes Jewish without having to go through any kind of ritual at all. Now, Josephus, who was of the priestly class and who was a general during the battles with Rome, not a very good one because they captured him, but he became a sort of a historian with the Roman legions and was able to be present at the defeat of Jerusalem and the fall of the temple. Josephus tells us that at that time, 2,000 years ago, just about exactly 2,000 years ago, there were a number of different sects or kinds of Jews. Some of them we are familiar with. There were the Sadducees. Sadducees were by and large a wealthier class of people. They were led by the priestly class. They were the government. And they had a fairly traditional hold on the Jewish people. There were the Pharisees. The Pharisees were interpreters of text. They will become the progenitors of the rabbis. We'll talk about that in a moment. And there were other kinds of people, some who were called God-fearers. God-fearers were people who were not Jewish by accident, or as Rabbi Komorowski would say, by birth, but were Jewish, but were non-Jews who came to admire the Jewish people, their way of life and so on, and began to live in the Jewish community. We're told that one of the things that they loved is they loved Shabbat, this whole idea that there was time consecrated to rest and to spirituality. And they would come and they would pray in the synagogue, made contributions to Jewish causes and so on, but they were not formally part of the Jewish people. So how then does one become part of the Jewish people? Well, we know two rituals, yes, very old rituals. One is called Milah, circumcision, okay? We know that as far back as the stories about Abraham, who circumcised himself and his household, and then as children were born, he would circumcise the males on the 8th day. So circumcision became a symbol of entry into the Jewish people, a symbol of being a part of the community. And we know of another ritual called Tevilah, immersion, which is the beginning of the concept of the mikvah, because in many, many places in Hebrew Bible, and certainly during the time of the temple, when the time came for people to do sacred things or enter sacred spaces, they would go and they would immerse themselves in water. And we find mikvaot, these ritual baths, in very, very many ancient excavations, so it's been along for a long time. So once the Romans had defeated the Jewish people in the year 70 and had ended that part of Jewish life in Jerusalem, a new category of people came into being, and they were called the rabbis. They're no longer priests necessarily, but they are the people who know the evolution of Jewish law and tradition, and they're the ones you go to, A, to learn the tradition, and B, ask questions to. And they began to establish the idea that for someone who wants to formalize their relationship to Judaism, not to be a God-fearer, but have a real seat at the table, they had to go through Milah and Tevilah, circumcision and immersion. So that was very, very nice. We now have a system. But I have this wonderful thing. I promised you this illustration. I need 3 people, please, to come forward. Here's 2. And we're going to go up here where people can see you, because an illustration that they can't see is not very special. Very good, John. All right, so John, I want you to hold this. High tech, very high tech. Hold that up. Hold that up. Hold that up. Can anybody read what those 3 letters are? Go ahead. Mayim. Mem, Yud, Mem Sofit, final Mem. Okay? So why did people go into the mayim of the mikveh, the water of the mikveh? Well, one of the interpretations which I just love comes from the fact that you'll notice the first mem is written this way, but the final mem, the mem sofit, is written that way. Interesting, yes? Now, turn that around. If you turn this into syllables, it's mem yud, and then yud mem, my yim. Can somebody tell me what the 2 yuds together are? When we see 2 yuds in the prayer book, what are they? Adonai. It's an abbreviation for God's name. So here's the drash. When someone goes to the mikveh, for whatever reason, they go into the mayim one way, they encounter God in the waters, and they come out transformed. Is that beautiful? It's poetic. I think that's very nice. And this is the high-tech illustration. Thank you very much. Huh? You have another a little teeny memory. You have no idea how long it took me to get these large. All right, it's getting late, so I'm going to move on very quickly. There is another midrash that we all know. I think we all know. We probably learned this when we were young. It comes from the Talmud, and it says the following things. There was another incident involving one Gentile who came before Shammai and said to Shammai, "Convert me on condition that you teach me all of the Torah while I stand on one foot." Shammai pushed him away with the builder's cubit in his hand. This was a common measuring stick, and Shammai was a builder by trade. The same Gentile came before Hillel. Hillel converted him and said to him, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to another." That is the entire Torah, and the rest is interpretation. Go and study. So what is Shammai saying? He's not being a rotten person. He's not being mean and vindictive. He's actually saying there is so much to learn in order to enter the Jewish community. I mean, think about it. Somebody walks in off the street into this sanctuary, and they don't know Hebrew, they don't know the melodies, they don't know the holidays, they don't know what to eat and what not to eat, they don't know what the values are. There is so much to learn. To suggest that they could learn it all at one time while standing on one foot is really kind of absurd. And so Shammai, who is, we would say in Hebrew, medakdek, he's very punctilious, picks up the builder's square, which is very precise, and says, "Go away." And then what does Hillel say? Hillel represents another interpretation or orientation to Jewish life. It's much more humane and warm. Hillel says to this person, "You want to learn you want to convert to Judaism while standing on one foot? That which is hurtful to you, don't do to any person. All the rest is commentary. Go and study." So Shammai is saying, you learn all of this material, and at the end of the process, you can enter the community. Hillel is saying, enter the community, continue your study, and in effect, we will be your teachers. There are many different attitudes about conversion today. I can tell you, and you've seen it, there are more people who have come to enter the Jewish people since Rabbi Komarovsky has come than I probably converted in all of my 20-some years in the congregation. And they are sincere people, and they come here and they study, and they bring with them some wisdom. And after a period of study of a number of months, and writing essays and so on and so forth, we have a bet din, 3 people, 3 rabbis or members of the congregation who come and speak with the individual to see their motivations and to hear their lives. And then we say, Mazel Tov, come into the Jewish community, now go and study, go and learn. So what's the point of this whole thing, aside from the fact that I've taken 20 minutes? The point is that we have so many different kinds of people who don't look like our congregation looked 20 years ago. They're younger, they are from many different backgrounds, many cases, many different colors, many cases covered in tattoos, many cases wearing tzitzit and wearing kippot all the time. They look very different than our parents or than we did. But they are sincere. They've come here. They've sought us out. And they're studying. And they're learning. And the obligation for us is to know enough ourselves to be their teachers, because they honor us by their presence. And that's the message. Shabbat Shalom. John, do we have some announcements?
Yes, sir.
Shabbat Shalom.
And to you.
I want to thank Rabbi Spitzer for presenting, for Rabbi Komarovsky this evening. Susie, thank you again for your music and leading us so excellent. There's a, in the handout it says there is stolen moments, but on the website it says there is not stolen. No stolen moments. Thank you. Habitat for Humanity is always looking for help in our interfaith build, so if you'd like to help, please sign up. If you don't want to help, you can always help in a form of a donation, and you can do that online. Keep in mind, June 21st through the 22nd, join us for the celebration of Rabbi Komorowski's 25th year of ordination with guest speaker Rabbi Neil Katz. Also keep in mind, June 23rd, we're having our temple annual meeting, so please sign up for that. July the 2nd is Sunday Fun Day, which is going to be a baseball game at the Rubber Duck Stadium. It's going to start at 1:05. So if you're interested, you can go there and buy tickets. Julie has a block of tickets reserved. And the 21st of July is CPR training for those who want to get renewal. That's good, or also get a certificate. So that'll be the 21st. And again, keep your eyes on the website for updates and ways to be connected with your temple. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, John. So let us now continue on page 282. We'll begin to conclude our service. And we rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asana kagoye haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kachol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלוכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. At this time in our worship, we remember those of our loved ones and families who have been taken from life. We reverently mention the names of those whose anniversary of death we mark on this Shabbat. Lester Cohen, Risha Cohn, Rhonda L. Davis, Mark Dubin, Sidney Erlanger, Jack Fisher, Milton Fleischer, Solomon Gelfand, Yetta Goldstein, Dorothy Gordon, Harry Greenberger, Sal Henkin, Miriam Grossman Hunter, Faye Katz, Florence M. Landau, Rabbi Charles B. Latz, David J. Lavin, Ernest A. Leb, William Love, Forrest McVicker, Dora Newman, Harry Newpuff, Jacob M. Noble, James Queen, Lottie Resnick, Eva Rich, Robert P. Rogers, Suzanne Roth, Carlos Rosenbaum, Evelyn Rudolph, Lenore Sachs, Anna Schweitzer, Elaine Tenenbaum, Philip M. Twersky, Bernard Winkler, and Joseph Winkler. And we also mention those who are more recently passed, who are still in Shaloshim. We mention the names of Robert Friedman, Michelle Watson, and Susan Kagan. Are there any additional names for Kaddish at this time? Kaddish is found on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'golav izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavorach l'olam l'omeo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudishat b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata toshbachata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah min shemaya b'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yahaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yahaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We conclude our service now with the singing of the Motzi, thanking God for the sustenance of life, and you may certainly come up and take a piece of bread when services are complete. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And Susie, what is our closing song? Ma yafeh hayom. How beautiful and lovely is this day.
Maya.
Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. From my bar mitzvah portion, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless each and every one of you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the warmth of God's countenance be upon each of you, your families and your loved ones. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's presence to us, to our loved ones, to our country, to all humankind. And we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Smells good, I guess.
Hi there, how are you, Stephen? Good to see you. Thank you for telling me what the Hebrew says. Excellent. Excellent. I'm impressed.